Missin Curfew. It's when you know, kind of play guilty, but you show up.
You get to the rink, like, oh, there's the workout for you. You're like, played 6 minutes last night. Why do I got to work out for an hour?
Scotty Upshaw in the clear, and he scores! Shane O'Brien goes to the defense of his defensive partner.
Yeah, you know how we roll on a Tuesday. What's up? The fellas from Missin Curfew, Scotty Upshaw, Shane O'Brien, joining us to talk about this. We're officially 1 week into the Stanley Cup playoffs. We've got the Carolina Hurricanes tonight looking to punch their ticket to round 2. They could be the first squad to do so. But how are you guys doing? How have you guys enjoyed this first week?
Well, I was enjoying it, and then last night I went 0 for 3 on my bets, so I'm a little concerned, Jackie. I'm a little concerned, but it's been great hockey. I mean, I think my biggest takeaway, and me and Uppy talked about it today, is just how close these series are. I mean, the fact that we're betting on them, maybe we shouldn't, because it's so hard to pick. It's so close. The comebacks, it's been great hockey. I got to say, I don't love all the penalty calls, but the hockey's been great. Yeah,
without the penalty calls, though, the comebacks probably aren't, real thing. Two great games this week, the past couple of days at 3-goal deficits by some great teams and great comebacks. Jackie, your Toronto Maple Leafs, I mean...
Oh, we'll get there.
That is a steal. We're looking forward to the games tonight. We're going to do a little live show in the studio, but the playoffs, I mean, it's been great. A week in, and we're finally to that point where we're seeing exciting hockey.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the entertainment value has been through the roof, I would say.
Absolutely. And I think Obi's point is well taken. There's just a sliver of difference between these teams, even the top teams in the playoffs and the teams that are at, the lower seeds. There's just not much separating them, and it's a bounce, it's a penalty, it's a timely play. That's been the difference.
Well, one team I think that has caught some casuals by surprise, as the kids say, is the Seattle Kraken, right? Yeah. Even with the defending Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. But big news out of that game from yesterday is Cale Makar getting suspended for 1 game for that hit on Jared McCann. What did you guys think of the hit and then the subsequent 1-gamer for Cale Makar?
Well, we went back and forth.
We just went toe-to-toe on this, actually, so this is fresh in our mind.
Bring the heat.
Bring it
listen, I think we all agree. It's not a dirty player. It's just a dirty hit. Because it's an interference, because it's late, it puts it in the category and a bucket of it being a dirty hit. It's against, what I said was Seattle's superstar. And Obi had to disagree with me there again. But 40 goals, McCann is their best player, arguably, all season long. And if it, turned the tide and it's someone against Makar or McKinnon, it's a suspendable hit. It's because it's late. It's not because he's a dirty player. And that's my take.
Yeah, for this one, I'm going to go with what Keith Yandel said last night on TNT. Yan said that he didn't think Cale Makar heard the whistle, and I got to agree with him. I don't think Cale heard the whistle. He was engaged with McCann. And I don't think he knew where the puck was either. Now, only he knows this. To me, McCann lets up a little bit. Unfortunately, Makar drives him into the boards. It's an interference because the puck's not there. McCann then hits his head on the ice. I don't think if he hits his head on the ice, he doesn't get hurt, and we're not talking about this. It is what it is. It's 1 game. But if they're going to ding Cale Makar 1 game for this, if I'm Foligno or other guys, what are they going to do to me if I hit a guy? So I was a little bit surprised. Never want to see someone get hurt, but Cale Makar is not a dirty player.
Just got to play between the whistles. That's it. If we're not talking about this, if the hit wasn't 2 seconds after the play stop.
You got to have a clip of Upshaw hitting somebody after the whistle on NHL Network. Pull it up. Jackie, this guy's changed. DJ, he's changed so much. This California lifestyle, he's getting soft.
That's me. I get 5 games, not 1.
Hey, listen, I'll just tell you this. All those things you say, I think, Obi, are true, as they made didn't hear the whistle or didn't know where the puck was. It went up out of play. I
but
mean,
as The Rock would say.
All those things are true, but none of those matter.
Yes.
At the end of the day, because what happened. There was no puck. The play was late. The player got hurt. And I love Cale Makar, and he's somebody that he's usually the guy on the receiving end of these nasty hits. He's had concussion issues in his career. I got a lot of time to defend Cale Makar, but when you look at it, player gets injured. It's pretty much, I said to you last night, once I really looked at it, I said, I think it's a 1-gamer, and that's what it ended up being.
Yeah, I think it's fair too. Sorry, Obi, but I agree with Uppy on this one as well, because Cale Makar might be the most honest player in the league. We showed the clip from earlier this year where they tried to call a tripping penalty against the Islanders. He goes, no, I lost an edge. Like, don't call the penalty. That's the kind of guy that Cale Makar is. But I was making the joke when you were talking, like, it's like The Rock says, it doesn't matter if you heard the whistle. It doesn't matter if you knew where the puck was. The hit was late. And for that, you get a 1-game suspension. So the
and there was an injury.
And there was an injury on the play to a really important player. Jared McCann might miss more than 1 game for the Colorado Avalanche. We'll have to see how that goes. But I think for fans and for the teams on the receiving ends of those things, Tampa's another example, right? No Chernak.
Yeah, and he's not even going to be back for the next game.
Bunting, if the coach wants him in the lineup, can be in the lineup next game. Chernak can't for Tampa. So it's kind of one of those things, like, how do you really balance it out when someone loses a key player like that? But we could talk about it all day. It's 1 game for Cale Makar. We'll see if the Colorado Avalanche, how they will do without him in game number 5. But let's get to those Toronto Maple Leafs, because, oh my goodness, they have given a whole new meaning to it was 4-1. They come back against the Tampa Bay Lightning. My question for you guys is this. What do you make of that game last night? Because on the one hand, it's a epic comeback for the Leafs, but it's also a pretty big collapse for the Bolts. How do you see it?
Yeah, it was a collapse, all right, Jackie. And I was watching it happen right in front of my eyes. I was just seeing my money go out the window. But, you know, you got to give the Maple Leafs credit. They hung in there. They didn't give up. For me, Vasilevsky, and listen, for me to sit here, you know, call him out, I guess I'm in no position. But he hasn't been the Vasilevsky of old. I don't know if he's tired or just too much hockey. And for the Tampa Bay Lightning, their decor from Hedman all the way down, you got to do a better job in front of your blue paint. I know the rules have changed. You can't cross-check. You can't do this. But you can't let these guys in white or blue in game 5 just stand in front of Vasilevsky all night.
Yeah, it's just given their top guys. You know, when Matthews goes in, whether there's only 11 minutes left in the game or not, when he scores a goal, it fires up their whole team. But one guy that just stands out to me is the O'Reilly factor. He's been involved, whether they're down a couple goals late in a game, he's doing the little things right. It's feeding off amongst their group. He's doing it with a smile on his face, but he's direct. It's whether it's standing in front of the net or winning a battle in the corner, getting it high up to the D. We're seeing a lot of goals scored by defensemen in this series. So they're doing something right. And he's just been a big difference and a playmaker in this last couple games.
Yeah, I completely agree with you about O'Reilly. And I'll ask you guys, you've been in the rooms. You played a lot of games. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they have a really good group of players. They've been trying to find ways to win. You bring in a Ryan O'Reilly, who was a captain, who was a guy that's raised the cup, was a guy that was a Conn Smythe winner. Like, you're listening to Ryan O'Reilly, and I think this team continues to compete even when things aren't going well, and I think you can look at some of that as O'Reilly's impact on the group.
Yeah, I love the fact that he's been a factor for sure. But to me, I've said for the last 3 years about the Toronto Maple Leafs, they have to get out of their comfort zone. What do they do? Austin Matthews, first career fight. Morgan Rielly, you kidding me? 2 black guys, scoring OT winners, hitting, fighting. That's the stuff you have to do. And before the playoffs started, people were like, oh, Morgan Rielly, this and that in Toronto. He's your best defenseman, hands down. He's been unbelievable. They've got out of their comfort zone, Uppy, and they're 1 win away. But I will say this. If I'm in that Toronto dressing room and I'm the fact daddy, I want to bury these guys in game 5.
Yeah, because I'm betting that they can come back. I think Tampa, they've been in this spot before. They're going to give them their best. And they just know that there'll be doubt in the Toronto Maple Leafs dressing room should they go in and steal one in game 5. So I'm expecting it to go later. But like you just said, all those things are why the Toronto Maple Leafs are up 3-1 in this series, and why we're talking about the Morgan Rileys and the Austin Matthews.
I'll add one more to this conversation, because when they were down 4-1, the sky was falling on social media, and it was, oh, here we go again. The same old Leafs. This is what they do. In your
text as well?
I text nobody during that game.
Your sister might have been texting
my sister might have been texting me.
Marcy was worried.
Shout out to Marcy, who was having an absolute conniption 40 minutes through that game. She was ready to fire. She was ready to just tear the whole organization
to pieces. That was feisty Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That was a lot of feisty.
She was upset.
Yeah, she was.
She went from very upset to elated by the end of it. She actually said, I can't believe what I've just witnessed. But to go back to the point, you know, I think a lot of Leafs fans felt that way, right? Like, oh, here we go again. This is what the Leafs do. You saw a lot of that online last night. And then after the game, you hear Sheldon Keefe allude to the fact that this year feels different. He said something along those lines. Is this year different for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Have you seen signs of that? Or is it still, even up 3-1, too early to tell?
I don't want to jinx anything. Like they've been in this spot. They've been in this spot before, right? Against Montreal, they're up 3-1. But the difference is they addressed an issue with having a guy in their dressing room that you can look at and follow because he plays the right way no matter what situation it is, and that is O'Reilly, and he could be their captain. But you're seeing everyone do little things better, and those little tiny things are what separates you from losing a series or winning a series. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we all love Ryan O'Reilly. I think they've played harder this year. You know, I talk about Morgan Riley getting in a fight, Austin Matthews getting in a fight. They seem to be chippier. They seem to be more physical. Giordano fighting Bogosian.
Give it up for Luke Shen.
Yeah, Luke Shen. Yeah, Redmond, you were right about Luke Shen. He's going to be the savior. He's going to have a statue outside. But listen, there's the guy.
Listen, I'll sign that petition. Give Shenny a statue on Leafs Row.
Yeah. The guy was chirping, number 88. Maybe he just takes something or turns the clocks back. I don't know. I mean, if I'm them, I want to bury him because if Vasilevsky finds their game, it could be 3-1 Tampa. As you guys know, this series is so.
Yeah, they definitely miss Chernak as well.
Yeah.
In closeout situations, right? You talked about it, Obi, the big, strong defenseman there. But for me, I guess, yeah, it feels different right now. I mean, early on here, it feels different. We'll see if it can continue. But it's a good start to win games where you really probably should have lost. So that's different.
Yeah, that's the point of concern for me is the periods where the Leafs did not start the game right away or on time or however you want to say it.
And a shout-out for Mitch Marner, too. He's leading the league in scoring. And, you know, we talked about Matthews and O'Reilly and Riley and different. Mitch Marner getting the job done, too.
All right, so I wanted to make sure we got to the Kings and the Oilers because there was a comeback in that game as well on Sunday night. The Edmonton Oilers come back from 3-0, get the win over the LA Kings. They avoid going down 3-1 and end up tying the series at 2 games apiece. Have you guys ever been in a game where you blew a lead that way, like a 3-goal lead or in a big spot or a big game? And if so, how the heck did the Kings regroup after that?
Yeah, it's tough. I'll go to my second year in Vancouver. We went in and won game 1 in Chicago, and we were up 2 in the third and ended up losing that game. I believe in regulation. They scored 3 on us in the third, and just a flight home. You know, we were so close to being up 2 on these guys. They beat us the year before. It's going to be tough for the Kings. Like, we were joking, like they had the taste of being up 3-1, and then McDavid does his thing. They fight their way back, and Hyman, what a goal. So for me, the biggest thing for this game is 3 days off after this, right? So if you're Jay Woodcroft, you can play McDavid and Draisaitl 30 minutes if you want, because you know up dog that they got 3 days off after this game.
Yeah. I was in Florida. We had a closeout game against New Jersey Devils back in New Jersey. Game 6, could have closed them out. We're up 2 late in the third, and they come back, tie it up, win in overtime, and we got to get back on that bird to go back for game 7. It's never perfect. But the message from the coaching staff is guys, new day, whether we lost, 8-0 or we lose in overtime, doesn't matter. Let's just go in.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're right. This Edmonton Oilers team, if you're going to give them power plays, they're never out of a game, whether they're down 3 or up 3. If the refs decide that they're going to be calling stick checking and all this stuff, it puts Draisaitl and McDavid in spots where the best power play in the history of the NHL is going to do their thing, and that's what they did the other night. And like Obi said, with the rest, expect these guys tonight just to be flying and doing their thing and using that home building. That rink up in Edmonton where we watched some playoff games last year, it's a big special place, tough barn to play in. So
I love that point by Obi because it's so unusual to have 3 days off before the next game. So I think that will impact the approach on both benches in the game tonight.
Oh, it is a big one. And I think maybe my favorite series of the opening round is Kings-Oilers. Their games have been spectacular.